Hi, welcome back to Sinner and Friends. I wanted to apologize for taking so long to post another video. As you know, my son Eugene's been home. He's a Marine. He's been home for 9 days, but he left on Tuesday, so I've been a little sad. I don't know when he's gonna come back, and he's hoping for Christmas, but with the Marines, you never know. And they told him he had to go to Kuwait, so we don't know. He's waiting to do that too. So it might be a while before I get to see him again. But it made me think of what we can use for this video. Depression. Depression is something that everybody goes through. I don't care who you are, at some point in your life, you're going to be depressed. And there are different kinds of depression. I don't know exactly all the kinds of depression, but some of them can get really, really deep. And I'd like to talk about that kind of depression where you're just so desperate and sad and it looks like there's no hope for you. That's kind of depression that I want to talk about. And people that get that depressed and they can't get out of it, then they start to have the awful thought of suicide or hurting themselves. There's lots of things that people do when they get that desperate and that depressed. And I can tell you that I have been there before. And I'm hoping that none of you ever get there, but there is hope. There is always hope. And I looked up some Bible verses to help us. The first verse, and I was searching depression on Google to see which one could help us the most, which one would I want to share. So, I don't want to do too many because there was a lot. I'm sure you guys can find a lot on the internet. It's really neat now they have on the internet where you can compare the different versions of the Bible, the New International Version, the King James Version, all these other versions that I haven't heard of until now. And so I was able to compare the verses that I'm going to tell you right now. I was able to compare them to other versions, and they hit pretty on. I'm not an analysis person, but it seemed like they were saying the same thing. So the verse that I'm going to share with you is from the New International Version. Actually, I have two verses, but we'll do this one first. And I'll tell you why I like this verse the most after I read it here. It's Psalms 40, verses 1 and 2. Psalms 40, verses 1 and 2. Pause the video and you can look it up and read along with me. All right, so it starts out, I waited patiently for the Lord. He turned to me and heard me cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and the mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. The reason why I like that verse so much compared to all the other ones that I've read, because it says, He turned to me and heard me cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit. And when I was really seriously depressed, it felt like I was in a pit. It felt like I was in a hole, a deep, deep hole, and it just was darkness all around me. And everywhere I turned, anything that I thought, my thoughts were all just of myself, of like hopelessness, like I don't need to be here, and there's things going on in my life that just really made me fall even deeper into the pit. And I would pray to God, but it felt to me like He wasn't listening because I was so depressed. So this verse, it says, He turned to me and He heard me cry. He lifted me out of the slimy pit. That's just how I felt. I felt like I was in a pit and I couldn't get out. And the mud and the mire. And what we're really searching for is a firm place. And it says that God lifted me and put me on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. So that's hope. That's looking for something to help you, some place to stand on. When you're so depressed and you're in that pit, it just feels like you're falling and falling and falling, and there's nobody there to help you. And my major problem, and maybe somebody, it's other people's too, was because I didn't ask for help. Nobody knew that I was depressed. So how can somebody help me if I don't ask? And I didn't pray enough. When I was depressed, I knew God was there, and I knew if I prayed that I could possibly feel better. But it was really, really hard to get a prayer out to God. And it was when I absolutely didn't tell anybody that I was that depressed. Maybe because I was ashamed to be depressed. And people that are that depressed and they're ashamed of being that depressed, you know, try to think of, well, what do I have that can help me feel better? And I have children, but I love my children with all my heart, and they know that, and they know that I would die for them. But nothing seemed to lift my spirits, and until finally God, I believe, put one of my friends in my head, reminded me of this friend who's very strong, a strong Christian, and he knows the Bible very well. He actually, you know, does sermons sometimes. And I hadn't talked to him in probably a year or more. And I truly believe it was God that put him in my head to think of him, because I never would have thought of him before, you know. So I ended up giving him a call, I texted him, and I asked him, I told him, you know, I'm really depressed. I need somebody. Are you free? He said, yes, I'm free. Come over now. And thankfully, he did. He when I got there, he talked to me, told me things to give me hope. He showed me a video that was very helpful about God helping people, and he pulled me. It was like a lifeline. It actually felt like I could actually feel myself coming up out of that pit. I didn't come out all the way, but I did come up enough to give me something to stand on, to give me some hope, to let me know that there is a way out of this. And I'm so thankful to him, and I tell him, you know, thank you once in a while. I let him know. And we don't talk all the time still, too, but we got each other's phone numbers, and we know that we're there for each other always. And I pray that you have somebody out there, or that you have something that could give you a firm, or give you some hope. And God can be that for you, even if you're not a Christian and you've never prayed to God before. You could pray. You could ask for help. You can ask for... Actually, there's a song, and it makes me think of depression and what people that don't know God, people that don't know about God, that just have heard of him before, and people that are very depressed. And the song says, when you don't have anything to say, like when you think you want to pray but you don't know what to say because you've never prayed before, just say Jesus. And I believe that's the name of the song, Just Say Jesus. But it's very touching, and it's moving, because you don't have to say something to God in a prayer. You can think something. Help me. Jesus, are you there? Jesus. And in the scripture, you know, God is always going to answer your prayers. That your prayers go up to Jesus, and Jesus gives them to God. But there's always going to be an answer for you. There's always going to be some hope. But the main point in this verse, in this word, patiently, I waited patiently. That word patiently was in almost every single comparison in all of the different Bibles that I was reading through. I was comparing this verse to other versions of the Bible, and that word patiently appeared in every single verse, except for one. I can't remember which Bible translation that was, but they said, instead of patiently, it said, I waited and waited and waited and waited. And then finally God turned to me. But that's the key word. We have to be patient. I know that if you're depressed and you're in that pit and you think there is no hope, just say Jesus and be patient. And there will be some hope. I know it. I know it. I promise you. There will be something. And, you know, that made me think of, you know, well, while we're sitting in this pit and so depressed, and we're supposed to be patient, what can we do? You're lost. You can't think. All you have in your head is bad thoughts. And I truly think depression is caused by demons. And so they're sending all these bad thoughts in your head, what can you do? You have to be patient. You have to pray, or you have to at least, if not pray, say Jesus. And saying it out loud can help too. If there's nobody around and you're depressed, say the word Jesus. And he does hear you. He will hear you. He will turn to you. But we have to be patient. So that's my question. What can we do while we're in this pain of depression, while we're being patient? And, my answer is there something in your life that you like to do? Is there something that makes you feel like yourself? For me, it's writing. And so I wrote a lot of poems while I was, very depressed. Very, very sad and depressing, awful poems. But it felt like I was getting something out of me, some of those bad feelings out. And I wouldn't say that it exactly gave me hope, but it did give me something to do while I was being patient. The other question I had written down is who was depressed in the Bible? I'm like, well, I don't know the Bible that well. I went to church for years and years and years, but does the Bible talk about anybody in the Bible that was actually depressed in this pit of despair, or just something bad has happened to them? Does it talk about that? Does it talk about their feelings? And so I, in my little search there, I found a verse that talked about the disciples, and how when Jesus told the disciples he was going to be leaving, which he was going to be leaving because he was going to be crucified. And they became depressed. I mean, if you were with this person who you love, who is like your brother, and you follow him, and you've been with him for so long, and you just know how wonderful, and you love him so much, and then he tells you that he's going to be leaving, but doesn't really answer, your questions. You don't really understand, but he's leaving. And all of the disciples at that point became depressed. And in John 16:33, I'd like to read that verse to you. This is right after Jesus told them that he was going to be leaving. And he didn't answer any other questions. He just told them that he was going to be leaving. So John 16:33. Oh, here we go. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. In that verse, I believe that we can find some comfort while we're waiting patiently for the Lord to turn to us and give us a firm ground. I believe we can take comfort in the fact the problems, the issues that we had that put us in this deep pit of depression is from the world. The world is going to cause us these troubles. But Jesus has overcome the world. Think about that. The things that are pushing you down, money, marriage problems, boyfriend-girlfriend problems, every other issue you can have. You can't find a job. You don't have, and then you're in this pit of depression. You don't have strength to get out. Think about how Jesus overcome all the troubles, all of the demons in this world. Jesus has overcome them all. And Jesus will be turning to you. He will. I know it. I promise you that. And we just have to be patient. I like for people to leave comments. Maybe we can comment. People can leave some comments of how maybe a situation they were depressed and what they did to help them wait patiently for the Lord. Things that people can do to help them wait. But what have you done that helped you wait patiently for the Lord to help you out of this pit or help you out of your situation? Okay, well, that's all I got for today, and I hope you come back for the next video, which hopefully will be within the next week. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I'll do it as soon as I can. And hopefully I get some comments. All right. Take care, everybody.